person that goes there. Everybody's driving their fancy cars. I'm driving my brother's hand-me-down used car, the Nissan 200SX with a hatchback with a bubbling tint. You know. And you know what happens to you? Like the slipping belt, that is super not cool when you're trying to impress a girl, and you drive up and it's like, what? It makes that sound like, oh, you know what I'm talking about? Come on. And no matter what you do, it just comes up at the wrong time. You know? That was my life, right? And I just tell you my horrible fashion sense, I would go to the mall and just buy whatever clothes I think I could sleep in and go to work in. That's how it worked. I bought a horrible, like, burgundy colored trench coat because it kept me warm, right? You guys like Style Icon, right? Like, we're walking around with a jean trench coat because I would literally just sleep on top of the table. And most of the people there were white, Caucasian, or European. So Art Center Europe had closed down. So we had a lot of the Euros there. And there was no Vietnamese. I met one other graphic designer, was a woman who was Vietnamese. I'm like, oh my God, you exist. But I didn't really care. Because in my world, I don't compete against an Asian Vietnamese person. I compete against everyone in my class and then everyone in the world. And I just thought that's the bar. I didn't care to like be the best Vietnamese, I just needed to be the best designer. And I worked my ass off. And that's been my I guess strategy for success for a while, until I realized it's not sustainable long term.
What do you mean by not sustainable?
Okay, so the way I would work is I felt that if the teacher said do 3 ideas, I would come back with 6. If they said do 2 comps, I would do 4. I just set the bar. And the funny thing is graphic designers didn't work as intensely as I did. And so I wound up becoming friends with a lot of the transportation designers because they're hardcore. The trans program is the most competitive, the most well-known program at Art Center. It's something like 80 or 90% of the cars that are in the world are designed by Art Center graduates. So only 8 students can get into the transportation program, otherwise they stay in industrial design. So I looked around for people who felt like I felt to behave like I behaved, and all transportation designers. So they're sitting there drawing cars all night. I was sitting there working on 2D layouts with type. And they thought I was in the industrial design program. So I would stay there and I would stay up all night, like as long as I could. Many nights, sleepless nights, I had hallucinations, I had all kinds of crazy stuff, but that's how it worked. But that tears away at you. You know, I could have like an all-nighter and the next day still be fine. And then you get into your mid-20s and it's like, oh, it's not so fine, I need a day to recover. And then it's like, I need 2 days to recover. And you can tell, it tears your body apart.
Music videos for brands like Audi,
Yep.
countless others, can't even remember, but done amazing stuff. And at one point, you switched to what you're doing today, which is called The Futur without an E. What is The Futur?
The Future is an education channel, really. I thought for a long time, and anybody would come up to me, and what are you? I would say, I'm a graphic designer. And I would wear that title, that label proudly. Like it's the suit that I feel most comfortable in. And then I realized the identity that is deeper than the graphic designer, that's what I do, is the educator. And even when I was much, much younger, before I even figured out that I wanted to draw and make pictures, I was always trying to help people. And I get a lot of personal fulfillment by helping people. So when I discovered that there's an educator in me, and I'm teaching at Art Center for 15 years, and my wife knows this, like I've never been so alive like when I teach. Whenever you would see me in a classroom of 8 to 10 hungry art students, the room would explode with laughter and sometimes tears, and we would do wall squats. If you weren't listening, it was like old school Asian style raising kids. Like, you don't pay attention? Go to the wall and squat there. And all the kids would laugh. Like, you're laughing, you're next. And that's how we would do it. But I felt so alive, and I wanted to create that somewhere outside of the rules and confine of the school. Because even though it was a liberal kind of place in an art school, there are limitations to what I can do. So for the last 10 plus years, I've been trying to recreate that environment, but teach the world and not just 8 privileged students who can afford to go there.
Okay, so that was started like 6, 7 years ago, or even longer now. And how many people have worked with The Futur since then?
I don't know how to answer.
Or at least viewed your videos even.
Millions. Like our YouTube channel has 2.5 million subscribers, and when we look at the hours watched since the conception of the channel, it's in the hundreds of millions of hours, and it's wild to me. So here's a crazy little story. In order for us to promote a typography course that I was going to sell and offer, it was the first course I ever produced. I wanted to give people like a taste of what I know. So I wrote a a document. It's called 10 Rules to Rule Type. And it was a PDF, and I did it really quickly, and we put it out there. And it just goes out into the wild. I don't think anything of it. Years later, I connected with one of my fellow instructors. Her name is Allison Goodman, and she goes, Chris, that PDF is required reading in my class. Like what? That was a free resource I gave, and now it's like being integrated into the curriculum. And you know what's funny for me now? It's wild to see the effective reach that you can all have with these free social platforms that we're creeping into universities. So students now take pictures of their teachers showing the videos in the class. And the funniest thing I ever saw was when one fan took a photo of another fan watching the video on a subway train. It's like, it sounds weird, right? Super meta. It's like somebody's watching it and they peek over their shoulder, they take a picture and they send it to me. So it's like 2 layers of separation. It's wild. So the reach is incredible.
Very cool.
Let's give it up for that.
I noticed some of you just walked in, and just by the way, we'll have time for Q&A. So one of my last questions for you, Chris. So for those of you that don't know, I also run a podcast on Vietcetera, and the last question I always ask is, we have you here today for this whole convention to talk about personal branding, but also to talk about your journey as an Asian American professional and a creative, making your own space in America, of all places, and even the world, you can say. What is something that you'd like to know more about so that you can become a better version of yourself and for work? I know AI right now is top of mind for your work. I know that you just came back to Vietnam and you're exploring that identity, and that's probably an ongoing journey. Is there something that you'd like to know more about so that someone from the audience can perhaps ask you while you're having a sip of coffee later today?
Okay, that's a really tricky question that you're asking me, so I'm going to answer in a tricky way. Okay?
Please.
All right. What I want to know more about is how to break the system. I see systems in place with walls and people who are not qualified to run it, and it's just an extension of what has come before, and I want to break the system. One of my favorite TV shows is The Game of Thrones, and Khaleesi, you know, her whole thing, Daenerys Targaryen, and she's like, the wheel goes round and round and round. We replace one king with another king, and the cycle continues. She goes, I don't want to be part of the wheel, I want to break the wheel. I want to break the wheel. And there's something about me, I'm not an anarchist, but I want to break the system so we can see what's beneath it, so we can rebuild. And let me put this in more context to make it a little easier to process, right? If all of you just looked at your life and you hit the reset, and you're not married to the person you married, you're not dating the person you're dating, you have to live in the city, your parents are not here anymore, and you don't have to go to school, and you don't have to work for that company, or the company that you have, what would you do if you were to start over? If we had that gift, like we're all kind of abducted by aliens, wiped out our memories, and we get to start again, what would we do? Would we do what we're doing now? And it's the question I just want to ask like over and over again.
We go home.
Where's home?
Houston, Hanoi, Saigon, wherever you picture home, you go home and give it back.
I like that. So everybody's gonna have a slightly different answer, right? Everybody's gonna have a different answer, but like, I asked that. It's like my business coach, Kier, he would oftentimes like, would we be doing this if it wasn't us doing this? And that kind of just gets you to see into your blind spot. Like one of the deep therapy questions or the coaching questions is they'll ask you, what is your blind spot? Bro, if I knew my blind spot, I wouldn't be my blind spot. But it's a really good question, right? What aren't you seeing right now? What opportunities? What are the threats? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? So there's this expression, it's hard to read the label when you're inside the jar. And the label is everything you need to know about your life, what you're supposed to do with a game plan, your personal brand. And it's only if we can pull ourselves outside the jar and look in, but we can't. So that's why we need other people to help us. Like, what do you see in the jar? What is it? What is it? What am I supposed to be doing? And so for me, I've been really blessed because I've had people in my life look out for me. I'm not a religious person despite the cross. I'm not a religious person. I just feel like the nature and the universe have aligned themselves to help each and every single person here, no matter what your belief is. The problem is we're not so good at listening. So my mom sees that when I'm at the fairgrounds and at Great America Park, I'm always stopped at where they do the caricatures, the funny faces, where they do the airbrush and the Tina and Hart and the dolphin. And I was just staring at that, and I didn't care to go on the rides, and I didn't care about any of that. So one day, I think I'm like 15 years old. My mom comes home on a Saturday and she brings something out of her car. I'm like, what is that? And mom went to a garage, what is that called? A garage sale. And she bought a big old compressor and an HP airbrush. And I said, what's that for? She goes, it's for you. I'm like, oh my God, I feel so seen right now. Ma, like, for all the weird gifts you give me, like the box of pistachios I didn't want, you got me an airbrush. And I was just like, you know, a hog and poo. I was just like, let's go. And you know, I airbrushed so much in my bedroom. First of all, the paint got on the walls. She didn't care. And like at night, I would go to blow my nose and blue paint would just come out of my nose. Yeah, that's how much I loved it. And so every one of us, I think, we don't understand. There's someone out there, even if you have like not a lot of support, there's somebody, a neighbor, an uncle, cousin, a teacher, a friend, a stranger, a hater. They're out there trying to tell you the label on the jar. But we're too obstinate, we're too stubborn, or we dismiss people because of their qualifications not to be able to see it. And I think if you were to search your memory banks, somebody has already told you what's on the jar, the label on the jar. So we gotta just figure that out.
All right, awesome. Round of applause for Chris, please. Just a reminder, we do have a book signing with Chris, probably about half an hour or so, and we'll be here until 3 for that. But any questions from the audience here? Questions, anyone? Michael, you've been.
I want to encourage you. Ask any question. The deeper, the more profound, the more challenging, the better.
What was in the jar?
Me.
No, but what do you identify as something that could be in a jar? What sauce or mum would you be in the jar?
I know that word. You mean for me or for you or for...
No, you.
For me?
You were inside the jar.
I'm in the
People
jar.
were outside.
Yeah.
Would you be the son that had a dad that was a tomato and he said, just catch up? Wah, wah. Okay. Or would you be the buh or the mayonnaise? That's all I got.
Okay, he's got a lot of Vietnamese references, but I'm actually like, what the hell? Okay, okay, in a different world, in a different dimension, I'd be a slightly different human being. I want to share this with you, maybe I can answer
No,
the
this
question.
is the point. Share.
I'm going to share it with you, okay? I think if I grew up in a place where I was part of the dominant culture, where we didn't feel like foreigners and we spoke the language and my parents were like multi-generational, whatever it is we were, I would have been a very different person. I'm an introvert, but it didn't help that my parents could not help us integrate into American culture. I got into fights, like people that I thought were my friends were just using me, and I was just like, what? And they turned on me in a second. And it was really rough growing up. One of my scariest and most challenging things was, who am I going to eat lunch with at school? Because I don't want to eat lunch by myself. So you know what I would do? I wouldn't look for the cool kids, I'd look for the weird kid, the punk kid, or whoever it was. I'm like, hey, are you eating lunch today? Where are you going? And so I would befriend all the misfits, and I then felt like a misfit, like I didn't belong. And something that Chris had said, Chris Pang, Crazy Rich Asians, he had said something about like, I had some identity issues about like being Vietnamese in America, because I started to feel like a lot of self-hatred and kind of rejecting my own identity as a Vietnamese-American. And I think that messed me up for a really long time. It really did. And I'll tell you where it came to full circle, and hopefully I don't get all emotional here. I'm at the Art Center graduate show, the grad show, like we're graduating. I didn't even care about graduating at that point. But I saw something really strange. I saw men and women from Asia, Malaysia, Singapore, China, Japan, wear native clothing. And that rocked my world, because I'd not seen Asian people embrace their culture the way they did. But they grew up in a place where they're part of the dominant culture. Koreans, you know, they have their traditional hair and the dress and the makeup, and the Japanese. And I'm like, wow, this is a different reality, one that I haven't given myself permission to accept or see. And so that starts to change in me. The reason why I shared this story with you, because I think in a different life, I might have been like a comedian or something. Because I like clowning on people. I like telling jokes, and I'll do that for like my cousins when I was younger, but I just, like, that's not me. Like, I couldn't give myself space to try. So if you ever see me on stage and I'm just ripping on people, it's because I'm exploring that other identity where maybe these two universes or dimensions cross and I'm able to borrow from alternate universe Spider-Man.
This is kind of like an alternate bubble right now. It's like
It is. It's kind of weird. It is kind of weird. Yes.
Very cool. Thank you, Mike, for that question. Okay, we're just running time. We have one other question here. If you can share who you are, where you're from, as well.
My whole life story. Okay.
As much as you can.
Hi, my name is Han Nguyen. I'm born in Vietnam. I'm in Virginia. I'm volunteering for the NAV Conference. First time in Houston. First time meeting Chris and everyone. So I found it very interesting that you talk about the label and like how if you have a support system and they can help you figure out like what's on the label. But I'm a young professional. I've been like working for about like 5 years after graduation, and I always feel really blessed that I continue to have a stable job in insurance and whatnot American thing. But do you have any advice for people like me who know that I have value and some kind of label out there, but don't really know what's the label saying? Like sometimes my intrusive thought is, what if the label is just blank and I just have no value? Like, what an advice for that?
Okay. I think everybody here has value, and I'm just scared for you that if you were asking ourselves, like, what is our value? It's because perhaps enough people around us have told us we don't have value, and that sucks. And I'm trying everything in my power to send out a different message to people. I feel this, that everybody has already figured out who they were when they were 7 years old, and it was beaten out of them from 7 to now. And that's a really tough space to like live in or to think about. Like, you already knew. And the way that I ask people to think about this is, what do you do that you forget the passage of time? What gives you so much joy that you get this weird feeling in your stomach? Like, it's described as butterflies, or, you know, I would say to my boys, is this safe space? Can I say this? You know, 2 boys are like, you know that tingling feeling in your dingle, tingle in your dingle? They're like, there's this weird excitement, like you have to pee, but you don't have to pee. You already know what excites you. You know when you spend all your free time doing when no one's paying you to do it? The thing that you do after work for fun, to relax and unwind, that's part of the description on the label. It's the ingredients of who you're supposed to be. And so when I deny this, I'm actually fighting against my higher purpose and what ultimately brings me a lot of personal fulfillment and success. So here's the weird thing. So from 1995 to about 2016, I'm making commercials and music videos for big brands. I'm not chasing it, but I'm in this place where I'm in LA, working with the top agencies in the world, working with Coldplay, Gnarls Barkley, Justin Timberlake, and I think I've reached some place. But you know what the weird thing is, and they don't tell you this, is when you reach it, you feel pretty empty. And you try it again, and it might make you like 4% happier, and you still feel empty, because it's not connected to your higher purpose. So the weird thing is, in 2014, I meet my former classmate, and he's like, let's go on YouTube. I'm like, what a dumb idea. But in doing so, I find some part of myself that I forgot about, that I can connect all the things I'm super passionate about, teaching, entrepreneurship, design, goofing on people, just all of that. So I just feel this, right? What happened is we all live like a fractured self. Like, we're all broken into 1,000 pieces, and the pieces that we show to the world are only just a few. We're fractured, we're broken, and it's because society, or you tell society that this is what you tell yourself, that no one will love you for 100% of being you. So you show a little piece at work, at home, to your friends, to your parents. But I believe in the integrated self, when we can pull all the parts, that some parts are just ugly and dumb. If we can live in that space, we rise above everyone else. And in branding and personal branding, it's just really this simple. Be different. But we're all trying so hard to be the same. And that's the challenge. Just be different. So whatever shape and size you are, however your creator made you, however nature formed you, we just accept that. You know, I love it. Like, there's guys like Joe Coy, and I'm forgetting his name right now. I can't believe I'm forgetting his name. But comedians who bring their culture into their comedy, no one can do that. You know, and when Joe Coy's like dancing and doing his hip hop and singing, no one else can do that. So he becomes like this mega star because he learned to lean in. He embraced it. All of them. And I think when we see examples of that, That's the universe telling us this is who you're supposed to be. There's a template now. Does that help you?
Amazing. Okay, one more question.
Thank you for coming here and sharing. My name is Han. I've been here 5-6 years, and I have a question to get back from your questions. I think a lot of us here come here, and that's our reset button. Coming from Vietnam to here, basically, you are starting new. And there are sometimes in the journey you kind of see there's a point you feel like you need to press reset again. Maybe you don't know what the label is, or maybe you think you can do so much. You have so many labels to choose from. You have so much potential, and you're wondering, well, is this a reset button? And I want to ask you the question, like, what would your advice to someone when they're at that stage when you're thinking, is this the reset button, and should I press reset? What are the pros and cons do I need to consider and stuff like that?
Okay, I'll try to answer that question. If we all knew when we're supposed to hit the reset button, it would be super easy and everybody would live fulfilled. The reason why we don't want to hit the reset button, and this is a really strange thing, is because even if we're not fulfilled and happy with our relationships and where we're at, we're more comfortable staying with things that we don't like than to try something that we might like, but we don't know what the outcome is. The scariest thing for people is the unknown. To not know what happens next, and our desire to control, and control is just an illusion anyways. Here's the cool part. If you have the courage to hit the reset button and it doesn't work out, you hit it again. And you just keep hitting it again until you get to the place where you're supposed to be. And this is not to tell you that there's some kind of prescribed timeline that you're supposed to work on, like, oh, by the time you're 24, you're supposed to figure it out. Like, I don't make YouTube videos until I'm 42. And I don't really figure out what I'm really doing until like I'm 46. It takes time. So for some of you young geniuses out there, it'll be like 14, like my son, he's already figured out his life. And actually both of them have pretty much figured out who they're going to be, and it makes me really happy. I can like chill out as an Asian parent, it's cool now. So I don't know what it is for you individually, but I knew something was wrong, and there are clear signs. The first time I hit reset button was when I'm driving to work and I pull into the parking lot, to the building that I own, to the employees that I hire, and I don't want to be there. Can you imagine that? The company that I founded and everybody checks to and everybody works for me, I don't even want to be there anymore. And I sat in my car kind of depressed, just looking at it like I don't want to go upstairs right now. Because if I see a few people that really bother me, that I hired, I'm not going to have a good day. And I started to think about that, and then eventually we solved that problem. And then I was pursuing all this client work and working with multi-billion-dollar brands, like literally like one company was like $13 billion, and we were doing all this work and they're giving us this work. I'm like, I don't know if this is what I want to do anymore. Maybe it is not what I ever wanted to do, and I just needed to do that to prove to myself I could do it. But the teaching stuff, the just being goofy on stage and having conversations with people, that's what lights up my soul. And the weird part is, okay, so in 2007, we billed the most money we've ever billed in a year. It's like $6.4 or $5 million as a production company. And that took us a long time to get there. But I think if we continue doing this education thing, we're going to make way more money than that. By like in orders of magnitude more. I just got to figure out the puzzle about how to break the system. But it doesn't matter to me anymore because I just love teaching, so if we can just sustain our team, it doesn't matter. I just want to play it for as long as I can play it. So our goal is just to make enough money to pay our bills and just keep doing this. So for me, that's the reset button. I'm going to keep doing this until we crack it. You look confused. But what are you thinking when you tilt your head to the side like that?
Not much.
What happened to our microphone? Can we still get it back? Oh, okay.
Oh, sorry.
You want to catch mine? I'll throw it to you. Okay, don't throw it at you. Okay. The team probably doesn't want me to throw it like I do. Yeah.
No.
Go ahead. What does it mean when you tilt your head to the side?
I think I just relate back to my thoughts, and where I am and do I need, I guess like, I think a lot of people here, and I'm not saying this for everyone, when we come here, we come with kind of like a path in mind. We know what we want to study, but it's not our full potential. Or maybe you're 5 years in, 10 years in, you realize there's so much more you can do. And I listened to your story and I realized, well, you got to a point where you see success, but it's still needed to a reset button. So I'm just kind of thinking, like, for myself, if I'm as successful, would I ever think of hitting reset button? Like, why would I think of hitting that reset button? And now you're confused.
So I made it worse for you?
No.
I'm fired.
Okay,
Okay, you know what? Let me say it a different way, okay? It's not going to help you, but hopefully it'll point you in a direction. I heard this in the Philippines when I was speaking. Another speaker had said this, and he said it in such a beautiful way because he believes in like cause-based companies trying to make the world a better place. And he goes, you know, everybody says follow your passion. Have you guys heard that? Well, maybe not Asian people, but white people say to their kids all the time, follow your passion. And passion is such a confusing thing. And he goes, passion is an anagram. If you move the letters around, it's I pass on. What do you want to pass on? Long after you're dead and your dust and your bones are like melted into the earth, what is it that you passed on? You know, and just think about that. And maybe that's a clue. Because, you know, being the greatest accountant or like a great shrewd like financial investor, like what the hell did you pass on? Just think about that. So I think for me, my legacy will be like I help people. And long after I'm turned to dust and whatever, somebody out there hopefully will pick up the pieces and continue moving it. And then maybe someday the wheel will be broken. And can I just end it on one short story here? I have to share something with you, okay? Because I felt this and I'm ashamed of this, okay? Like the sense of like reverse racism. Like we hold ourselves low when we're in the non-dominant culture. It's tough, and I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm not proud that I went through this phase of my life. And I was invited to go on a speaking tour in China, and I was like, I've made stuff, you know. I'm a teacher and I've won awards, and they invited me. And the person who invited me was an Art Center alum, a female Chinese student, who admired me and said, we'd love to bring you, and you can bring one person with you. I'm like, fantastic, I'm gonna bring this person. I'm like, no, we don't want you to bring that person. I'm like, who do you want me to bring? And she said, bring a white person. Well, bring a white person? Okay, I gotta be a white person, my creative director. And she goes, no, not that white person, the tall, good-looking white person. And I go home, I'm just full of anger, you know, because I say to my wife, I'm like, babe, do they not know, like in America, I'm hot, and you're saying now I'm the attraction, but you need me to bring like a face person? This doesn't even make sense. And my wife's like, shut up, stupid, just accept it. Get over your own ego. Do you want to go or not? I'm like, yeah, I do want to go. And so he's my friend too. He works for me. He's Tobin. He's like 6'2", redheaded guy, good-looking guy. I'm not going to deny he's not good-looking. And he's eye candy. And you know what sucks? We go through China. I'm doing all the work. I'm presenting. I'm talking. I'm trying to be charming. And as soon as we're done, they're like, take pictures of the white boy. I'm like, what the hell? I'm not chopped liver here. We keep doing this, and we're having a lot of fun with each other. He goes, Chris, how many people took photos with you? And I just feel like, what is going on? Like, I think Western, like European culture has done such a good job with branding that we look at Western physical beauty standards, success, and all that stuff as the benchmark for who we're supposed to become. So when we go home, when we look in the mirror and we don't see that same Western person looking back at us, we internalize some of this self-hate. So here's my mission. I want to be the coolest Asian guy amongst all the white people who they want to be like, and I'm making success towards that. I want to change the freaking narrative. That's it for me. Thanks.
Chris will be here at the end of the session, sorry, I was making a film. And he'll be signing books later. So everyone here will be getting a book. It's called Pocket Full of Dough. I think we have enough. So stay tuned for that.